Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Deaconess Elizabeth, and it is Monday, June the 5th, and I'm here again for your daily devotions. Today, our devotions come from John chapter 11, starting at the 17th verse. So if you'd like to follow along, you may turn there now. On his arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them in the loss of their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed at home. "Lord," Martha said to Jesus, "if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask." Jesus said to her, "Your brother will rise again." Martha answered, "I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day." Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me will live even though he dies, and whoever lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this?" "Yes, Lord," she told him. "I believe you are the Christ, the Son of God, who was to come into the world." And after she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary aside. "The teacher is here," she said, "and is asking for you." When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet entered the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who had been with Mary in the house, comforting her, noticed how quickly she got up and went out, they followed her, supposing she was going to the tomb to mourn there. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. "Where have you laid him?" he asked. "Come and see, Lord," they replied. Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, "See how he loved him." But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying?" Okay, that's as far as our reading goes for today. And since you'll notice we're in a completely different book than we were on Saturday, and that's because it's the Monday after Trinity, after Trinity Sunday, so our readings jump to John 11. And as you can tell, we kind of pick up in the middle of the story of Lazarus. So we pick up after we hear that Lazarus is already dead. And when Jesus arrives, Lazarus had been dead 4 days already. So Martha rushes out to meet Jesus and tells him that if he had been there, Lazarus would not have died, but Martha trusts Jesus. And Jesus tells her that her brother will rise again, and she knows that Lazarus will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. And then we have this famous passage where Jesus says, "I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me will live even though he dies, and whoever lives and believes in me will never die." And then he asks if Martha believes this, and she says yes, and then she confesses him to be the Christ, the Son of God. So Mary hears that that Jesus is asking to see her, so she runs out to greet Jesus too. And Jesus sees her weeping and sees all the Jews that are with her weeping, and then we have the shortest verse of the Bible telling us that Jesus wept as well. Some people who are with Mary took this to be a show of how much that Jesus actually loved Lazarus. But others wondered that if Jesus could open the eyes of the blind, couldn't he have kept Lazarus from dying in the first place? But this story just goes to show that we do not know God's plans. We may think one thing makes logical sense, but God's timing is always good and always best, as we see in this case here. And as we're going to continue to find out in our reading tomorrow when Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead. So our hymn today is going to be hymn 765, God Moves in a Mysterious Way, and we'll sing verses 1 and 2. God moves in a mysterious way, his wonders to perform. He plants his footsteps in the sea and rides upon the storm. Judge not the Lord by feeble sense, but trust him for his grace. Behind a frowning providence, faith sees a smiling face. and we'll conclude with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Well, thank you for joining me for today's daily devotion on this Monday, the beginning of the week here. Just a few announcements. We have our events as normal this week. On Wednesday, we have youth night here at 6 o'clock. We no longer have choir practice. Choir is out for the summer. On Thursday, our Mahjong group meets at 10 a.m. in the morning, and our Grief Share group meets at 7 p.m. And then this Saturday, we have a number of events happening. We have our men's breakfast at 8 a.m. on Saturday. Our Sprouts group will be meeting at 1 p.m. on Saturday. And then the going away party for me will be at 6:30 that evening. So if you have not RSVP'd yet, please make sure you get those RSVPs to Pastor or send that to his email so that we get an idea of how many will be attending on Saturday. And then not this week, but a week from today, our VBS is going to be in full swing. Our VBS is from June the 12th to the 15th. It starts at 9 a.m. in the morning. For all of our volunteers, we ask that you be here at 8:30 so we can be set up for that. And I believe those are the announcements that I have for today. So I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Monday.